Good morning, dear friends. It is my proud privilege to welcome you all on behalf of Professor Brahma Singh Horticulture Foundation, BSHF, a not for profit organization, and my own behalf to this 5H webinar series, Future Indian Horticulture. BSHF is thankful to NEPA, New India Publishing Agency, New Delhi, for sponsoring this webinar series. I am happy to welcome co-organizers Dr. Peetam Kalia, ICR Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Awardee, former Head Division of Vegetable Science and Coordinator, School of Horticultural Sciences, IRI New Delhi, and Dr. Shalendra Rajan, former Director, ICAR, Central Institute of Subtropical Horticulture, Lucknow. As per the title of the series, the emphasis is in this series on future Indian horticulture. Future Indian horticulture must be science and technology driven. Today's talk is limited to future floriculture. Floriculture is a beautiful branch of horticulture. Floriculture is the science and technology of production, processing, and marketing of mostly of ornamental plants to improve the environment. You will agree with me that floriculture is a vast subject with very little research and development on it. This is leaving its vast potential untapped or unexploited. At the same time, commercial floriculture has emerged as high-tech activity, and that is taking place under controlled climate conditions inside greenhouses or protected structures are going to even soil-less production. BSHF views floriculture in India as a high growth industry to be in great demand. Only one aspect of floriculture, friends, we discussed last Sunday, that is edible flowers. Today, more on the subject is to be covered by an experienced scientist, Dr. Dorji Rao, Head and Professor Floriculture YSR, Horticulture University, Andhra Pradesh. You may like to put up the questions in chat box, which will be answered after the talk or later. Now I request Dr. Peetam Kalia to formally introduce the speaker in brief. Dr. Kalia, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, friends. Most respected Professor Brahm Singh ji, founder and chairman of BSHF, and co-organizer Dr. Shalendra Rajan ji, and today's speaker Dr. A.V.D. Duraji Rao, who will be talking on future floriculture. Dr. Duraji Rao is professor and head of Department of Floriculture and Landscape Architecture at the College of Horticulture, Venkatramanandam, in main campus of Dr. YSR Horticulture University. Dr. Rao has vast experience in teaching, research, and extension. He was meritorious in academics right from school days and awarded university level gold medal for his performance in all the degrees, that is graduation, master's, and doctorate from Angrao Agriculture University and University of Agriculture Sciences, Dharwad. Dr. Rao started his career as agriculture officer in the combined state of Andhra Pradesh and scattered extension services in the interior tribal areas of present successor Telangana state and Andhra Pradesh. A key role was played in the establishment of Krishi Vigyan Kendram, Nellore as a research associate in the project of remandated KVK under Agriculture Research Station Nellore. Dr. Rao was involved in coconut research under Ngarao and APHU at HRS Ambajipeta and was instrumental in layout and planting of four major experiments of coordinated national projects. Dr. Rao's association with the teaching is elaborate as he was associated with the state of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh as well. And Dr. Rao has published more than 125 research articles in peer-reviewed journals, besides successful guiding of 12 MSc and 2 PhD students as chairman and 24 MSc and 6 PhD students as member. Dr. Rao has served in different campuses and worked for multiple functions as Warden, Officer in Charge for ED/PD Academic Matters, Officer in Charge Student Affairs, Transport in Charge and Library in Charge, etc. Dr. Rao is a member of Board of Studies for UG and PG at Dr. YSR Horticulture University and also the chairman of Campus Beautification Committee of the university. With that introduction of Dr. Rao, I, not standing for long between the viewers and the speaker, I invite Rao to take the floor and deliver the talk. Dr. Rao, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Most respected Brahma Singh, sir, Kalia, sir, Rajendra, sir. I'm highly privileged to be a part of this lecture series. And first of all, I thank my university, Dr. Janakiram, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Any future depends upon the visionary and wisdom of the present time. Dr. Janakiram, sir, is one such dynamic leader who is now driving the YSR Horticultural University into future. YSR Horticultural University was established in the year 2007 as AP Horticultural University and later renamed as Dr. YSR Horticultural University. And at present, the university is led by the visionary leadership of Dr. Janakiram sir. And for the future prospects, we have established a biodiversity park. We have collected different varieties of roses and named a rosary in the honor of Dr. B.P. Paul as Dr. B.P. Paul Rose Garden. And as a part of healthy industry academic relationships, we have also collaborated with Kadiyam Nurseries and contributed one chapter, exclusive chapter on Kadiyam Nurseries. So likewise, for the future prospects of flowers, Pushpa Prasadam project, that means the worshipped flowers of Lord Venkateshwara are processed, dried, and articulated into beautiful shapes, and they are being given, rather marketed, and by adding a very good value to them. So, with this, the future is definitely depending on the visionary of the present leadership. And likewise, in this lecture, I'm going to cover some of the aspects which are driving the flowers or floriculture as a whole into the future, and some of the technological innovations that can help in future floriculture, and some of the problems, exemplary problems which are faced by upcoming flowers or novel flowers, and suggested remedies. Please permit me to share my screen. I hope the slides are visible.
Yes, sir,
I
it's
hope the
visible.
slides are visible. Yes. Okay. So future floriculture depends on several driving forces or the drivers. What are those drivers? Let us see one by one briefly. The LPG, liberalization, globalization, and privatization policy, which started or which was very popular during the 90s. So at that time, if we see the floriculture in comparison to horticulture, it has recorded a very good growth rate. As we see in this table, the compound growth rate for total horticulture was about 6.91 in area, whereas in floriculture, it was much better. So, likewise, the contribution of GDP, if we see, the contribution of GDP by total horticultural crops was about 27%, whereas for flower crops it was 2.45%. So it shows, though the area was very less, the potential of floriculture was increased very well in that decade. At present, if we see the area occupied, the cultivated area occupied by the flowers is only 318,000 hectares, so roughly zero point 0.3 millions in India, which most of which, almost 50% of that is contributed by the states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, AP, Telangana, and Kerala. The state of Karnataka produces maximum cut flowers, whereas Andhra Pradesh loose flowers. Kerala had a very good area, but the production is limited to 44.8, that too in terms of cut flowers, mostly orchids. So, in many states, floriculture growers they are concentrated around suburban areas of towns and cities. So, this is one factor which we have to understand, that the driving force for the people is nearness to the market, because they can quickly transport their produce. Flowers are such a items which need to be marketed very quickly, especially the loose flowers. And in Andhra Pradesh, during the year 2021, we had an area of 17.5 thousands, and this area is on increase. But due to COVID, during the last 2 years, there was a setback. So the flowers which are mostly occupying the major share in the market at present are rose, jasmine, chrysanthemum, marigold, tuberose, chrysandra, and all other flowers like some of the minor flowers, asters, etc., and some of the upcoming flowers, gerberas, etc. So these are picking up now. Gerberas have already made a substantial progress, and other flowers are yet to make some progress on account of their figures. When we see the trends are very much encouraging that the novel flowers can catch the market very quickly. So this gives an idea of the value that is being generated by floricultural products. During the year 21-22, it reached an amount of 771 rupees, which equals to about 96.5 million US dollars. When we see that out of some 125 million hectares of total cultivated area, only 27 million hectares of area is occupied by horticultural crops. Within that also, just a meager area of zero point 0.3 million hectares is occupied by floricultural crops. When we see the export value that is generated, around 1500 1500 million US dollars of export value is contributed by all horticultural crops, out of which 96 million US dollars are contributed by floricultural products alone. So this works out to be a proportion of 320 is to 1 for floriculture, whereas for the rest it is only 55 is to 1. So this capacity of flower crops will definitely lead the flower growers and all other stakeholders to concentrate on novel flowers and also novel technologies, applying them to the existing flowers and reap the benefits out of them. If we compare the major flowers which are existing now, rose, marigold, jasmine, tuberose, rose is proved to produce or generate more net income over the total variable costs. The major drivers, when we think about one by one, the employment generation capacity in floricultural crops. So it provides decent standard of living not only to the farm household or small family and being a woman friendly in nature, but also it provides employment for some of the laborers, some of the retailers, some of the value addition practitioners, flower vendors, whatnot, everybody in the chain, value chain. And the income generation capacity of flower crops is also very much lucrative because of higher productivity. And flowers have entered into the edibility scenario. That means a lot of edible flowers are also nowadays being popular, and they are now used in salads and making of some products like gulkan, etc. The domestic trade of flowers is characterized by greater producers' share in consumers' price when there is no intervention of middlemen. That is why small growers always tend to market their produce in the nearby markets, and they try to eliminate the intervention of middlemen. And not only in the loose flower market, but also in the cut flower market, interventions by international flower auction centers, it is also an attempt to reduce the intervention of middlemen so that the producer's share in the consumer's price can become a very good proportion. Then export units, a lot of export units have emerged, and they are also being, some of them are sustaining, they are maintained, and the air freight charges are also being subsidized by the government. Some of these policies they have definitely encouraged, and they will also encourage provided they are properly in place and used by the consumers as well as other stakeholders. Then per capita consumption of flowers also has increased, and nowadays in the every corner of the even villages, rural areas also, in their functions, including the birthday functions, they are using non-conventional flowers. That means the flowers are reaching from far distances and overnight journeys they are making, and within no time they are reaching to the customers, decorators especially, and this is one good sign to rule the future floriculture. Then there are a lot of advancements in the post-harvest technology, um, giving a scope for reduction of losses, post-harvest losses in some of the existing flowers. So the present flowers like rose, gladiolus, carnation, chrysanthemum, market, tuberose, etc. So their post-harvest losses are to a tune of 25 to 30%. So this damage is going to be reduced in future by adopting proper technologies. Unless proper efforts are made in this particular aspect, the uh, so their future uh, cannot be developed, or their future cannot become brightened. So, in order to make it more brighter, it is necessary to concentrate on post-harvest technologies and value addition, and sustaining as well as developing the infrastructural facilities by some of the government agencies like APEDA, NHB, NABARD are always there. And the growing exports and initiatives by the central and state governments can encourage people, more and more people, to come into this business, including the graduates and postgraduates of horticulture as well as floriculture into this business. As it is now happening, some of the people who graduated, they are starting their own polyhouses and naturally ventilated polyhouses as well. Some of the people are working in close coordination with the CAD designers so that it elaborates the employability, then motivation of growers. So in one survey, which are very rare in floriculture aspect, 90% of the works are mainly concentrated on production and crop improvement. So the motivation forces like extension studies, economic studies, they are limited in this. And of some of these rare works, a person called Jadhav and his associates. So they worked out and they have just documented the percentages. What are the motivational uh, factors for the growers? Low cost of cultivation, nearness to market, then easy maintainability. So these are some of the motivational factors. With figures, they have come up to enlighten the public. Then, to sustain these drivers, definitely technological innovations are helpful. So, some of the technological innovations are processes which are helpful for future floriculture or sensor based applications. Some of the sustainable development goals. So, sensor based applications like bee vectoring, laser based sensors, and vision based harvesting, that is mechanized harvesting, which is now existing in most of the vegetables and fruits. It can also be placed at least by some of the polyhouse growers to maintain good quality. Then sustainable development goals like good agronomic practices, good horticultural practices, and agricultural extension and information systems, strengthening them, overhauling them, better extension services, so that we can reach a wide public with a better quality of extension mechanism, extension knowledge, skill, attitude. Then mechanized techniques for propagation, as we see in case of some of the vegetables nowadays. See, in floriculture, the demand for new and new plants sometimes comes like a wave. So at that time, lot of material is needed within no time, within a very short period of time. So conventional methods of propagation may not sometimes match. So mechanized propagation techniques also may have to be brought into the place. In the nursery business, the trends now which are coming and in future, they will have to sustain like small pots, then lightening the weight of the plant material, then using the flexible material like plastic pots, grow bags, pro trays, poly bags, and some of the net pots and air pots to deal with large bag size plants. Then, in order to sustain the interest of the growers who wants to grow non-conventional crops or a crop in a place where favorable ambient conditions are not there. So, for such places, protected cultivation is the only answer. So, but protected cultivation cannot be like everywhere practice or everybody's practice. It needs lot of interventions, lot of advancements in that are also needed, like some of the advancements in cooling and ventilation systems, fan and pad system, then vents. So because the evaporative cooling may not be always an answer, so refrigerated cooling becomes very costly. So some technologies in between, they have to be kept in place so that humidity can be reduced. So in places where ambient humidity is very high, evaporative cooling may not be so effective. So we cannot also go for the refrigerated cooling because of high cost. So some of the advancements here, the engineers work is very much essential. So engineers, economists, extension specialists, they all have to work in coordination so that some multidisciplinary solutions can be found, not only the production specialists and protection specialists. Artificial lighting techniques in the crops where long days are essential. So artificial lighting has to be provided, and for that, lot of solutions have come into the market, and in future they have to be used, and they will also be definitely used because of the necessity. Then shade management. Shade is also very costly at times. So when we go from 30% to 90%, the cost of shade increases from $13 per square feet to about $25 per square feet. This shade can be automated so that the operation will become easy. but too much superstructures are unwanted. Then CO2 concentration. CO2 concentration has already reached around 340 ppm in the ambient weather, but in polyhouses it can be raised up to 1000. The further increase may not yield proper results, so that the gap between 300 to 1000, so that can be profitably utilized, and some devices which can supplement the CO2 have to be brought to the place, so that they can enrich the CO2 concentration for profit making. Then technology of drones. It is also an upcoming technology, and already some places, some people, they are using drones for different purposes like damage assessment, spraying of pesticides, tracking of livestock, then crop health and stress analysis by vision technology, even seeding, sowing of seeds also. It has been attempted by drones. So there are a lot of benefits by this technology, like enhanced production precision, that is 99% accuracy. Then evidence of insurance companies. So some of the companies, they are also insuring these machines. Then another major intervention is nanotechnology. Science at nano level has exploited like anything. So some of the nanoparticles, they are found to be extraordinarily well compared to their respective normal particles. So for example, nano silver as a antimicrobial agent, anti-ethylene agent, this has to be, or this will definitely come in place, and it will be utilized for the by the future growers and stakeholders. So while adopting these techniques, we need to sustain the biodiversity, and we need to keep the native plants. Along with that, we need to invite some of the exotic plants which are friendly to the native plants and also native ecosystem. So some of the biodiversity parks, which includes the native plants, is to be encouraged. So one such biodiversity park, including lot of indigenous ornamental plants, has been brought to the place in Dr. YSR Horticultural University. So native landscaping by means of trees, shrubs, creepers, which are endemic to the Indian subcontinent, is a nice concept. So nowadays people are making a lot of gardens, theme parks, Nakshatra Garden, Rasi Vanam, etc., etc., so that their utility is also very much exploited. And there are a lot of benefits with these plants because they can save time, energy, money, and other resources. And the extincted species or the extinction of species can also be prevented by bringing awareness and uses of these species. So some of the indigenous ornamental tree species which are highly lucrative and which are very much popular, admired by the people, are just documented Butia, Bahinia, etc. So these are, nowadays many people are attracted by these plants, like some of the trees, Alstronia, Ajadirecta, Bahinia, Butia. So these species may also contain some of the exotics, but they have mixed or coalesced with our indigenous material. Calstemon, Cassia. In Cassia, also several species are there. People are trying different species for giving enhanced beauty to their avenues, to their gardens, etc. And potted plants, lot of interest has evoked in the public because of apartment culture. And so old age people, they want to grow these plants and derive happiness. So some of the popular potted plants which we see everywhere, or at least any one of these plant is found in many places. So only such plants I try to show here, so that my idea is in future these plants may rule, or they may spread like anything. Coleus, Kodiacum, judged plant, Nephrolepsis, Philodendrons, etc. Some of the climbers and creepers like Pisqualis, which are already in place, but on account of their ubiquitous nature, so they may sustain in future. And they had some edge rather than compared to other species. And value addition. So value addition is possible by means of different modules. Fresh flowers can be conserved, or they can be arranged in different ways in bouquets, garlands, corsages, etc. And they can be altogether processed like drying, making dry flowers, arrangements, dried arrangements can also be made, dry decorations can be made, pot puris, floral jewelry, paperweights, etc. They can be altogether processed because some essential oils, concretes, absolutes can be made out of this. So these are the some of the pictures of dry products and essential oils. Gulkans are also here, and some of the value-added products like Gulkand, rose water. These are the products out of rose, and the products out of jasmine, so garlands and adornments, strings, etc. So marigold products, lot of products are there by marigold. All of them need to be exploited for better profitability to marigold growers, because we saw marigold had a little income compared to rose and other flowers, but still, because of its short duration, it can produce more profits per year. Ornaments, different ornaments, they are now sold at higher prices. So some of the cottage units can be developed by making or by adopting the technology of making these valuable floral ornaments. Essential oils from marigold, rose, tuberose, jasmine, they are already extracted and exploited like anything, and these oils are costly nowadays. So ways and means have to be found to bring down the cost so that they can be made or they can be purchased by common middlemen, common consumer also. Herbal gulals, so as a replacement or as a substitute for the artificial colors, so to reduce the allergens, allergy problems. So herbal related material are also now in place to make the colors for use at various occasions, celebrations, etc. So some of the flowers, especially the white colored cultivars, can be tinted so that they can be made special, attractive. So roses, tuberoses, gladiolus cultivars, which are white in color, can be tinted to any color or any pattern, and even other colored cultivars also can be tinted. So arrangements, dry decorations, some of the dry decorations, some of the laminations you can see here, and potpourris. So likewise, a lot of products, lot of ideas have evolved in the market, and these ideas will sustain in future so that the value that is generated in flowers can be extended, because flowers, as such, as fresh organs, they are highly perishable. So this is one example. It was not there in past, but now, because of value addition strategies, there is a project of making fresh flowers, especially the worshipped flowers of Lord Venkateshwara from Tirupati, Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, into beautiful dry decorative products. So laminations we can see in the picture. So there is a lot of acceptance by the public as well as administrators. So in order to utilize these driving forces, and also duly considering the market interest and the feasibility of technological innovations, it may become necessary, it is already necessary to produce the flowers year round. So seasonality, beyond the seasonality barriers, we may have to evolve the strategies for greenhouse management in various seasons. So what are the cardinal points? Let us see one by one. So as we already discussed in the greenhouse management, the ventilation, cooling systems, CO2 enrichment, light management, shade management systems are very much essential. And besides that, the physiological aspects have to be properly managed, and proper marketing strategies have to be brought in place. The greenhouse management in monsoon should be very much focused on the infrastructure management and dissipating undesirable moisture, and also be optimistic to produce to provide water, because excess watering may cause damage, and try to harvest the rainwater by articulating some of the systems, and try to avoid or try to construct the greenhouses so that they can sustain the heavy winds. So heavy wind sustaining is also very much essential in the places where they are vulnerable to heavy winds. And some of the summer care guidelines include the sliding of side curtains so that some ventilation can dissipate excess heat. So the advanced cooling systems have to be used. Some of the micro sprinklers, you have to service them. So this is one problem. We cannot find any service personnel or survey except the company which are making them. So if you have any item in the house or any field, there is a service outlet. But a cumulative service outlet for a poly house or for a greenhouse or for a fully automated greenhouse is very difficult to find. This is one problem which is faced by the polyhouse growers, and that need to be addressed. So some of the winter care guidelines are like maintaining proper heat, so proper heating system, and optimizing the shade nets, and some of the chemical measures so that the feasible chemical nutrients, feasible liquid nutrients, they have to be used, so that the buildup of some of the pests which are very much problematic during the winter season, sucking pests. So that has to be taken care. So now let me cover some of the exemplary problems for the upcoming flowers. So in this particular section, the existing flowers I'm not again presenting. Some of the upcoming flowers only I'm trying to give the projected problems and their suggested remedial measures. So Lycianthus is one popular flower, so which has come like almost a very stray plant to a very valuable flower, a thornless rose. It has got a name that it is a thornless rose. It is used as a cut flower because of its long vase life and wide range of colors, including purple lavender color, which is very rare. Then likewise, in this flower, Harbug is the person who worked very well and who documented a lot of technologies. Then if we see the diversity in Lycianthus, early varieties, early hybrids or late hybrids, very late hybrids, lot of varietal diversity is there in this. And some of the major problems in Lycianthus are, say, rosetting. So rosetting happens when unfavorable conditions are there, the temperature more than 25 degrees centigrade, then high light intensities or poor light. Altogether, they can cause rosetting. This is a major problem. So suggested remedy to this is maintenance of optimum temperature, and these optimum growing conditions have to be ensured for a reasonable length of period. So around 16 degrees centigrade temperature has to be maintained at the time of sowing of seeds. But at growing of seedlings stage, it has to be rather increased, literally increased up to 23 degrees centigrade. So root development has to be very much taken care. So failure to develop healthy root system, it can cause other problems also. So strong rooted plants, they are very good for future healthy plants and quality crop. So to achieve that, the media should have high porosity and a relatively high soil pH is required. That means high means up to 6.7 like that. So post harvest life at times will be very much shorter for this flower based on the poor conditions, growing conditions. So ethylene production may become more. So that has to be reduced by ethylene management strategies. Nano silver solution can help here, and salicylic acid application can also help. So likewise, nitrogen potassium ratio of 1 is to 1.5 was found to result in high quality plants with excellent post harvest longevity in Lycianthus. And there is also a disorder or problem called flower burn, for which also this crop is vulnerable. So keep the temperature below 24 degrees centigrade. Flower color becomes faded sometimes, and this is also triggered or predisposed by low light and alkaline pH, so which have to be remedied by maintaining proper pH, temperature, humidity, and light conditions. Some of the biotic problems like fusarial wilt is also a big problem in Lycianthus. So suggested remedy will be a cultivation of resistant cultivars. So always uh, in flower crops and ornamentals, the research on new molecules of chemicals to address these biotic problems, it is sometimes scanty. Why? Because by the time one crop gets stabilized, the other crop will come. So protection research, by the time it comes up with the fruitful results, the crop may altogether change. So we have to go for integrated approach. So like cultivation of resistant cultivars, then optimization of nutrients, all these things. So one gentleman called Joe and his associates, they came up with a reductive soil disinfestation strategy. So this RSD strategy was a process where combination of reed straw, bagasse, rice straw were used to create anaerobic soil condition and regulated microbial colonies in fusarial infested soils. Gray mold called botrytis scenario scientifically. This is also a menace in this crop, and it develops at a relative humidity levels more than 90%. Therefore, the humidity and temperature conditions have to be optimized. And calcium fertilization also was found to reduce gray mold. Likewise, some of the biotic problems, they can be taken care by integrated approach, not only by fungicides, and likewise the Lycianthus can be sustained, and its future can be conserved. Similarly, anthuriums may be like upcoming and of course established in some areas, and these anthuriums are very much in demand. And some of the problems in anthurium, if we see flower abortion or deformation or rosette, so this reduces marketability, market value. So this can be prevented by restricting root pressure and promoting plant activity. That means it is possible by optimizing proper growing media. So the future research should be on growing media, its composition, and the utilization of lot of diversity of material into growing media. Not only the red soil, not only the peat, not only the vermicompost, many other products. So which are coming as byproducts or waste from different forms, plant-based or agro-based forms. So that has to be done in order to reduce the compaction in the pots. So folded ears is another problem wherein basal lobes of flowers are not fully unfolded. So this has to be also addressed by integrated approaches. Chemical solutions are not known by for this. Sticking. So sticking is dependent on varieties. So the flowers can be loosened somewhat by hand during the early stage. So this is one strategy so far. Jamming. Jamming is another problem where flower jams in the sheath. So humidifying the top layer of the substrate can provide a more favorable microclimate so that this phenomenon would disappear. And then cracks. So cracks on sides of spades or both sides can happen. So this will completely damage the market value. Lower the humidity as much as possible, and at least during the entire night if the problem becomes serious. Coming to pansy, pansy is also very much admired these days. So winter flower. Then poor seed germination is a problem in pansy. Seed priming with chemicals like GA3 is possible, and it is a suggested remedy so as to correct this problem. Then heat stress can cause irreversible damage to plant growth and development. So quality of pansy will be high if the um, crop is grown at cooler temperatures. That is why in winter season we recommend this. And powdery mildew is a problem in this. So powdery mildew can be eradicated by managing the weeds. Weed-free conditions have to be ensured. Chemicals like dimethrimol and ethrimol can be used. So for mildews, rots, then botrytis. Some of the works I have compiled in 2 or 3 slides, which I will be showing. Downy mildew, this is also a serious problem. So control or change the irrigation programs to avoid prolonged leaf wetness. Then rots caused by Theveliopsis is again a serious disorder in this crop. So drenching with copper oxychloride or Capton can be recommended against this. Calla lily, a species of flowering plant in the family of Araceae. So though it is also exotic, it is also very much received by the public. In this, some of the problems are yellowing of leaves, wilting or stunted growth. So this problem can be remedied by consistently keeping the plant foliage healthy so that the flowering can be encouraged. So these are the pictures of some of the common problems in this crop. Drooping of stems and flowers. So this can be remedied by adding enough water. Proper irrigation has to be ensured. Then brown edge of leaves. This can be avoided by excess application. Means avoid the excess application of nitrogen fertilizer. So that is the strategy to be followed. So if nitrogen is more or proportionally nitrogen is more in the liquid fertilizers or solid fertilizers, whatever you are applying, the plant may become vulnerable to many of these disorders. So right from the nutrition point of view, we have to be very careful to sustain the future of these flowers. And petunias also, they are very much popular nowadays, and they are becoming much more popular. But some of the problems in petunia are poor growth of plugs, again partly due to the compaction of media. So root system may not grow properly; it becomes tightened. So it has to be taken care regularly. Regular examination should be there. So they should be transplanted at right stage. The pH has to be observed at least once in 3 days or 4 days in the plugs, at least once in a week, so that proper correction strategies can be followed immediately. So if pH becomes high, um, the fertility program has to be changed and little acidification has to be ensured. Then photo period, so long days either accelerate or required for flowering, and this can be see rapiding in order to ensure the rapid flowering. Artificial long days can be created until the flower buds are visible. Then Pgrs. So many petunia varieties they require height control techniques. So early Pgr applications are often necessary. So avoid late spray applications. So because Pgrs can be more effective when they are applied at optimum stage, optimum concentration, and optimum volume. So proper application strategies have to be evolved for this. Then ornamental sunflower, this is a very much popular, and the fields create eye feast, especially dwarf varieties of sunflower. Some of the problems are flopping. Sunflowers that grow over 3 feet tall, they have large and heavy flower heads. They are vulnerable to flopping. And loosely attach the plant's branches to stakes. So staking is the remedy, but while staking, one must be very careful so that the vascular system is not damaged. The mildews is a problem. I will be telling the common remedies for mildews. Um, so mildews, both powdery mildew and downy mildew, they are likely or they are already damaging many crops, including the present flowers and also the future flowers. So um, to address this problem, the powdery and downy mildews, they have similar responses to biological agents. So what bioprotectants we can put in place are Bacillus subtilis and Trichoderma. Then some of the chemicals, some of the sources like Matthews and Surendra, so they compiled a lot of information on control of these mildews, rots, etc. So suggested chemicals like mancozeb, mefenoxam, dimethomorph, phosphonates, strobilurins. So these molecule groups, they are effective. They were found to be effective in various ornamental and flower crops. Similarly, for powdery mildew, some of the contact fungicides like potassium bicarbonate compounds, they worked well. And systemic fungicides in the group triflumizole, myclobutanil, strobilurin, thiophanates, etc., they also worked excellently. So these are some of the examples of problems in ornamental sunflower. Coming to aster, so many aster hybrids are very much attractive. So some of the main problem in aster botrytis blight can be prevented by careful and optimistic watering. Wilts, rots is also a common problem in this crop, and this can be avoided by resistant varieties and also solarization. Stock. Stock is another upcoming flower, excellent potted plant. The problems, common problems in this crop includes bacterial blight. Use of resistant varieties is the suggested remedy. Damping off, sanitization, sterilization, crop rotation. These are the strategies that we can use to address these problems. Grey mold, leaf spot, root rot, verticillium wilt. So here the suggested and recommended chemicals can be used along with the strategies what I told just now. The general remedies again for rots and wilts, rotation, sanitation, sterilization is the foremost strategy that is suggested. And chemicals, last strategy and trifloxystrobin, chlorothalonil, they are found to be effective. They are reported to be effective against these kind of problems in different flower crops. Alstroemeria is at another crop wherein ethylene sensitivity is a problem. So this problem can be addressed by the ethylene blockers. So Alstroemeria is prone to physical or mechanical damage. So this also has to be addressed properly. Toxicity. So because this sap contains a tuliposide, so the people who are dealing with this have to use plastic gloves, etc. Rots like pythium rot, botrytis rots have to be appropriately addressed by using the suggested or recommended chemicals and also the crop rotation strategies. Ornamental banana is one another crop which is now becoming very popular and seen at many places. As we saw, observed, aphids is a problem, so it has to be handled carefully by using recommended chemicals like diazinon and biocontrol agents. Banana weevils is another problem, so treat the plant with neem powder to reduce their population. Nematodes, soil-borne problem against the banana, so nematicides have to be used properly. Panama disease, fusarial wilt. So rather than going for any application or strategy, it is the diagnosis which is very important. So proper diagnosis is always important to suggest or to recommend the appropriate measure so that the unnecessary use of chemicals and damage to the environment can be avoided. Black leaf streak is another problem which can be avoided by fungicidal application. Moko disease is another anticipated problem and it is also seen in some places. So this can be also addressed by proper strategies using integrated approach. Ornamental gingers is another very important crop, upcoming and novel flower, which is existing, but it is becoming popular in many places. Some of the problems in this are wilt and fusarial yellows, for which remedies I have already covered, rhizome rot. Then bird of paradise, Streligia reginae. So this is a very important flower in future because it has a very long post-harvest life, and it exhibited the very hardiness. So lodging is a problem here. Galvanized wires or nylon strings, they have to brought in place. They have to be brought in place, and iron poles can also make made in this framework. Then fungal root rot remedy is application of proper um, fungicides, but before that, hot water treatment of seeds, scale insects, mealybugs, nematodes, etc. For heliconia, which is a close relative to bananas, some of the problems are stem rots, shoot rots, rhizome rots, mealybugs, aphids, etc. So, which have to be addressed by integrated pest and disease management strategies. So, the way ahead is that for government, effective visionary driven by proper wisdom and maintaining sustainable policies, supporting the growers, supporting the stakeholders is equally important in floriculture. So that decides definitely the future of floriculture. And the growers have to use um, or adopt useful technological innovations, location based, season based, and their economic condition based. So these adoption strategies have to be kept in pace with the real time challenges. So by the time one becomes stabilized, if we adopt the outdated technology, then there may not be any use. Then organizations, universities, etc., they have to bring awareness by organizing programs. As in that motive only, in that direction only, our university has conducted a one-day seminar on Lycianthus and novel flowers, latest on 19th July, wherein we created awareness in the public, including the city dwellers and rural people on these new flowers and some of their problems and strategies to correct them. So with this, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my talk on future floriculture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Doroji Rao, for taking us to the beautiful world of floriculture, that to future floriculture. We wish much more brighter future floriculture. Uh, uh, I think the question or appreciation, Shavangi, can be put later. Just hold on. Now I have to request my colleague, Dr. Rajan, to just highlight the points of the talk and request Dr. Kalia to be ready to supplement if something is missed. Dr. Rajan, please.
Thank you very much, sir. We had a excellent talk by the experienced speaker on the different aspects of the floriculture, which is present, the status, how it is important for exports, and again the potential. He has very well discussed why it is important for not only for generating employment, income, edible flowers, domestic trade, export and increase, but per capita consumption is also increasing. Then reduction in the post-harvest losses is the issue which has been flagged by him. And the supply chain has to be improved for the we should have a greater future of the this floriculture industry. Now the young generation is involved in floriculture, as he stated, and a lot of innovations are coming up. How the there is a sensors are now being applied where they are required. Then the drone application. Then the need of the good horticultural practices have been stressed by him. The need for the multidisciplinary work, particularly for artificial lighting, then shade management, CO2 supplementation, and other areas, particularly for drone technology and the nanotechnology, where it may be useful for enhancing the production as well as post-harvest life. He has very well described and indicated that the future depends on the multidisciplinary approach. He talked about the native landscaping Also the utility and its benefit, how the indigenous ornamental species are important, and many of them which have to be exotic have adopted to the country and they are important. Then potted plants, how those are becoming important for in different industry facets of the industry. Then how the value addition is important, how much we can get out of it. Then the example of artificial gulal, which is coming up very well, particularly when the colors are very, very harmful for our health. So the arrangements, drying of the flowers, then processed products, the extension of the post-harvest life of the flowers. Those are the areas where the lot of research is coming up, and the important part is the year-round production of the flowers, and the strategies and the barriers are to be tackled. The guidelines for the management of the greenhouse in different seasons, he has given suggestions how it has to be managed in summers, rainy season, winters, and what are the problems in the remedy, and there are remedies also for the novel flowers. Lycianthus, he has given the detailed example of it. Then problems in anthurium and other plants which are now commercially grown, like pansy, sunflower, ornamental sunflower stock, then ornamental banana which is coming up, then ornamental ginger, bird of paradise, and heliconia. So all the way he has indicated many new things to all of us, and we are beneficial uh, by stock. We have benefited by stock, and he has clearly indicated the future of the floriculture is now dependent on the initiatives and the involvement of government, then growers and academic organizations. We are thankful for a very, very important talk, particularly related with the future floriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajan. Dr. Kalia ji, kindly be brief.
Indeed, sir, we had a very wonderful talk on floriculture from Dr. Rao. All points have been covered, but I would like to make emphasis on some of the new flower plants which Dr. Rao has mentioned, and many more which can be introduced from other countries, because that is an important aspect to introduce many plants which are available abroad and which can be exploited here for the benefit of our farmers and consumers, and also from the export point of view, as he has mentioned, that there is a lot of potential flowers to export to different countries. So I think in that aspect we can go ahead further. In addition to the flower plants like calla lily, Lycianthus, which has been mentioned, Anthurium alstroemeria, and that's important aspect. And the ornamental ginger, I think they are local. The local germplasm needs to be collected, as he has very rightly mentioned the way forward for academic organization. So this is for academic organization to collect a lot of germplasm related to the indigenous new flowers which can be exploited, which can benefit our growers as well as consumers, and also the country with respect to the export of those flowers, and also making them available to our consumers in different parts. But the planting material development is additional part which is very important to make all of them available in every nook and corner, that the emphasis should be concentrated upon multiplication of the planting material of these very beautiful and new futuristic type of the ornamental plants which has been mentioned, and all those which are yet to see the day. Bird of paradise, very important, very beautiful, which he has mentioned also, that it's having long post-harvest life. So this is very important, and it is loved by one and all. It's sold at very high premium. Similarly, with the heliconia, which is important, and the research aspects, apart from developing the new indigenous varieties of these flowers, which should be laid emphasis upon the important aspects, apart from the good agricultural practices which has been highlighted very rightly. And I think there are some which can also be exploited for aromatic compound. Many plants, ornamental, he has already mentioned, which has very good fragrance. So those can be assessed which fragrance compounds they have, and extraction of those fragrance compounds apart from rose, which has been mentioned, which is known already. Those can also be exploited, and new plants can also be exploited. So there is a huge potential and so really futuristic talk that we have had, and it can give a lot of food for thought for the policymakers and the academicians to go ahead in that sector. With that, I thank very much Dr. Rao and the organizers for giving me time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalia. Can we have question if any? This is very basic lecture of undergraduate student. Please tell something practically useful to advance this field. Okay, I think last time we had edible flowers, and he had clearly mentioned about the use of drones and making available the planting material. And in planting material, he did not deliberately mention these nurseries which are to be modernized, and they have got a great future, and they have to be seen in a different way, not the way we are doing it. And the Kadiam is to be changed, that Kadiam, the famous nursery, there the soil should not be used. The soil should be totally replaced by some other medium to carry the modern nurseries to different places. And another thing, these are modern thing, is there what we get in plant nurseries. You should get the plants in trays, in blooming, in just going to bloom, or a few years bloomed one, so that you be happy and carry it on that. And the advanced thing with Dr. Rao has mentioned addition value to the blessed bloom. Blessed blooms means the you have did offering to the God, and God has blessed the blooms, and those blooms you can have it. You have got a blossom product. So I think that has got a great future, and we should seriously think about that. And whatever the leftover is there from that, those flowers, if which are not in a which can't be used the way we want it, they can be converted into a good compost, the vermicompost. And wherever facilities are not there, they can be used for the vermicompost. So that is a future for that. And the major futuristic thing in floriculture is making available the planting material. That planting material has to be made available, everything online, and available in a different form or whatever is there. And you have to use these the technologies of artificial intelligence, even the blockchain, and the drones he has mentioned, and the all those technologies which are coming up. Everything is to be used for the floriculture, but unfortunately he has clearly said, and floriculture doesn't get the priority at all. Least priority is coming up its own, despite all that floriculture has made a dent, and it has got potential, and he has clearly brought out the potential of floriculture, vast potential, not only for just beautification. The environment is very important, and there in an environment beautification only floriculture is there. That is the indirect one. Direct one, you can have a lot of a business in that floriculture, whether you start with the seed or the blooms or value addition, whatever way you want to use it. So a lot of potential, and they are perennial also, the trees, and they are the seasonal also. No? You have got a crop in 3 months easily, even less than 3 months. You can have flowers and you can sell it. And Lycianthus, he has given you the future flower. He has mentioned you the number of them which have got the big future. So I think we had a wonderful talk. The future for floriculture is there, and the futuristic thing he has mentioned, but scattered way. In a, perhaps the audience wanted in a consolidated way the futuristic floriculture, because they are very well aware with that floriculture. And here lies the point. We think that we know the floriculture very well, and we don't know anything about the floriculture. That is why we don't attach the importance at every level. That is a problem. Here lies the problem what we have just pointed out here now. Floriculture is highly technical and quite paying. I tell you, it can give the lead to the other sciences or other crops where you can use those technologies developed in floriculture. Anyway, some question or observation. Alka Singh, uh,
Yes.
very good morning, sir. Okay, thanks for coming up with the wonderful topic. Okay, nice presentation. That's also okay. I have to out forth that we need to do something about presentation of floriculture data as the production of ornamental nurseries, dried flower, value added product, landscape, uh,
Arena.
arena, etc., is not being documented anywhere. That's what she has rightly said, and we were also discussing the same thing. We don't attach value, we don't document, we don't see. It's a question of input output. If you don't put the input, if you don't invest in some science, you don't expect that there will be or it will be able to compete with others. So floriculture, unfortunately, beautiful, but suffering from this one. Everybody wants it, but nobody wants to invest in that. Everybody love the surrounding beautiful flowers, and not only that. I think Dr. Kalia, Dr. Rajan made a mention about the aroma, the perfume industry, multi-dollar industry, and we are having it, but unattended. Little attention is paid to that, but it has a huge scope, huge scope. The perfume industry itself and the food colors. We are just I don't know the colored food we are taking it, whether we should take it or not. But food colors, if we use the flowers for coloring the food, nothing like that. Not only that, it adds to the color, but add to the food value also, no? And in some cases the medicinal value also. So vast potential of that floriculture, our intention, BSHF intention to highlight floriculture is that it has got a great future. How you floriculturists and others, so those who are the stakeholder, should come together and decide how it can be brought out. Otherwise, on its own, it's coming up. Those who are in this business of floriculture, I tell you, they are well off than the others who are doing farming or other type of farming. Despite no research, almost, I may be excused. Researches are there, but negligible. Despite all problems, this sector has made a dent. And if we just support it, it will be very nice. It's required, I think, immediate attention, and that too in a big way. With these words, I think I must
With
thank the
your
audience.
permission, can I add just one
Okay,
point?
okay, go ahead.
As
Welcome.
Dr. Alka Singh mentioned, yes, we have no organized effort to document the data because, as we see in other crops where like rice, wheat, cotton, chilies, multidisciplinary studies are very much documented. If we search or if you want to see or uh, like document any work on motivational aspects, market share of flower wise or crop wise market share, it is very difficult to get because 95% of the works are either crop improvement based or production based. The protection works are less, and the works related to agricultural extension and economics, they are much more less. And one reason for this is the stability of the crop. Flower crops, we are telling major commercial crops, minor commercial crops, okay. But ornamental crops, they are fluidic. n number of crops, multiple crops. And they are also varying from location to location, from place to place, within one state and in one country, as you know. So these things definitely they govern they have already governed and they are going to govern the future of floriculture. Already some act has come to regulate the nurseries, but it may not be sufficient. Multidisciplinary works, including engineers, including extension specialists and economists, have to be taken up for the bright future of floriculture. And I am very much thankful, sir, most respected Brahma Singh, sir, for giving me this opportunity, and also Rajan, sir, and Kalia, sir, for passing nice comments, and all the listeners who attended the talk online. And this is indeed an opportunity, another feather in the crown. And I'm very much thankful, and I wish the floriculture and floriculturists a very bright future with all your blessings.
Thank you. Floriculture has got a future and it will flourish in future. So, friends, thank you so much. I thank one and all, starting with the speaker to Dr. Rajan, Dr. Kalia, Shivangi, and we meet again next Sunday. Can you display the topic for next Sunday? I think it is secondary horticulture, if I'm not wrong. Hello? Yes, that is there. The secondary horticulture and valorization. So you are welcome next Sunday. Another interesting talk. Once again, thank you very much. Thanks, one and all. Okay, bye. Enjoy the Sunday. Enjoy the Sunday. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.